Take three. Hey, what's up, G?
Zach G mixed it.
Hey, it's the art of revolution.
Push the masses away from the media. Every day it's a new distraction from what matters to me. And you get the public together to speak in front of the theater with a microphone dangling. Congress tied up and they hearing us like, hey y'all, I'm holding this microphone like a K-Dog. And with this A-Y'all, I kick the revolution way off. Today's the day, dog. They ain't like us, I'm quoting K-Dog. I'm from the days of face-to-face conversations like, hey, wait up. The fake is blatant, we ain't the racist. The claim is baseless, they taking face pics. The trade for information, take away your simple basics. The day-to-day Satan worship is taking place. It's your chance to speak your mind and probably your last time. Time is running out, we hustle every day for peace of mind. Cheap and grind, that's what I'm saying when I'm out here getting mine. Get in line, the time to make a difference is now. Push, pull, push, pull. Push out the evil and pull in the truth. I know you got something to say and now's your time to say it, dude. Like push, pull, push, pull. Push out the evil and pull in the truth. I know you got something to say and now's your time to say it, dude. Like.
Welcome to Art of Revolution. We got the young man genius, Max Bonilla, probably the future of American politics. This guy is an encyclopedia, so we're going to pick his brain while we got him for a short time. Max, go ahead, introduce yourself.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Max. I'm 19 years old. I'm very involved politically. I'm an independent journalist. I'm a university student. I also work at the same time of doing all this. And I like to post videos about what's happening locally, statewide, nationally as well. And there's a lot of interlinkage between the three as well. Just like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like federalism, right? Was the idea of our government. You know, it's going to be split up into national, state, federal. It's not going to be centralized all at one level, but I almost like to discuss the dual federalism, which is, hey, you know, this government has this power, that government has that power, versus cooperative. Like, how are they working together to undermine our rights as the people?
Yeah, no, you do a really good job. I looked at a bunch of your mind blowing the stuff that you know, especially at 19. So I got a question here for you. This one's courtesy of Catalyst Jones. So when your peers were dancing on TikTok and eating Tide Pods, what made you become so passionate about the things like the Bill of Rights?
Well, you know, I want to go back to a country that's all about the Constitution. You know, our halls of Congress have become dens of lying and stealing and swindling, you know, in terms of taking things from the people. And that's not what it's about. The Bill of Rights was not about limiting the people. It was always about limiting the government. And so that's a basic concept that we all need to go back to. And Congress has several votes that I don't think really are relevant to federal governance. Like they've used the so-called Commerce Clause to expand their powers, you know, sort of like indefinitely. So their powers just keep getting broader and broader, bigger and bigger, larger and larger. And so it's only made matters worse when they've done that. You know, they have a monopoly over, you know, like water regulation, environmental regulation, agriculture, just things that they should never be even having a voice on in the first place. Things that, according to the 10th Amendment, should be left to not just the states, but the people, the states and the people should be able to decide the rest of that. And I think logically, what's closer to home for the people even are the local governments. So they would be probably the ones that, you know, try to sort out these claims between people and make sure that there are codes in place so that people are not violating each other's rights.
It seems like even like our local governments lately, even the policing agencies now, it's all about you know, like the tax collectors in the Bible, you know. Congress it seems like people just go there to fatten their pockets from Yale and Harvard and whatnot. And that's the point of going to Congress for the most part, for most of them.
Yeah. A lot of them have a good pedigree, or they have a good education, or they have a good background. A lot of them come from, you know, some of them built it themselves. I'll give them that. Some of them built up their status through their educational routes. But yeah, it seems pretty similar. They like to go to the prestigious schools and then they go into the halls of Congress and they vote to make a lot of the same decisions. And one thing I've noticed is like I see a lot of bipartisanship in those halls, and
Yes.
whenever there's bipartisanship, it's not really a good thing. It's usually stuff that
Something
has to do with,
fishy.
yeah, something fishy, like
Yeah.
cracking down on freedoms, or maybe
Yeah.
there's a little provision in the bill. It's like they log roll. They log roll. That's one of their favorite things. They like to combine different bills together to make it confusing, and then have one big vote on a giant bill that has all
Yeah.
these different ideas in there.
Have you ever heard of the Emergency Banking Act? FDR signed 6 days into office.
I don't know that I have actually, and I've heard of a lot of acts, but maybe not that one.
That's the one where they forcibly took Americans' wealth. It's like
Oh, gold seizure. Is that what
yeah,
you're?
that was the Emergency Banking Act of
Yeah,
1933,
I remember
supposedly
that.
for the Depression. You should read that, and we should have a round two of this because it will blow your mind. Like, if you really put into perspective what they actually did and the amount of power that they took from us
Oh yeah.
with that act, it's insane. And then since then, multiple presidents, including Woodrow Wilson, would not sign the bill. And 6 days into office, FDR signs it. And it got us to where we're at today. I believe it's one of the 13th and 14th Amendment, in conjunction with that, got us to where we're at today, in my opinion. I mean, you didn't see U.S. citizen until what, the 13th Amendment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was the people, the people, the people up until that point. So
Yeah, up until the 13th Amendment.
yeah. So it seems, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, because I've been kind of going down this rabbit hole as far as that's concerned. We'll get into some, sorry for the curveball, but we'll get into some stuff's going on now too. But I mean, if you really put it into perspective, that seems like another power grab. Like, you freed the slaves or you free the slaves with the 13th and make everybody slaves with the 14th, kind of is the way I kind of take
Oh,
it.
I see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know that I've been down those rabbit holes, and then I also know that there are theories surrounding the legality of the ratification of the 13th. But yeah, I've never
Yeah.
really truly looked into those things. I've only heard things, and
Yeah.
whenever I've looked into it, it's kind of minimal.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it gets you going too. Cause like, if you actually read,
Oh yeah.
minutes and arguments during, the debates and stuff, like, where there really wasn't a whole lot of debate at that point. But it's just it's crazy to me that they, the amount of power that has been like grabbed. But so that aside, yeah, look into those. Maybe we'll do a round two on it. That Emergency Banking Act will blow your mind, dude. Like,
Yeah, I need to look into that. Actually, I have to pull it up on my phone once we're done, because
yeah,
I'm aware of a lot of the major banking bills, including the
yeah,
Federal Reserve was a big one for me.
yeah.
Um,
They,
but yeah,
they,
that was a big way to take away people's freedoms too. On top of what you
yeah,
just discussed, the whole citizenship thing, and then
yeah,
another way too was, I mean, at least what the claims are is through the DC, the
yeah,
Corporation
yep,
Act of 1871 thing that
yeah,
was passed. Not and of course the people that don't look at it through a conspiracy perspective will say it just created a municipal corporate government for Washington
yeah,
D.C. But the reality is it made the United States of America, USA Inc.
yep,
And it's like, corporations are spelled a certain way and they're written a
yeah,
certain way on a piece of paper. So, and
yeah,
then they're capitalized, all caps,
yeah.
USA Inc.
It's a
So
trip, huh?
that was another way to, no,
Yeah,
but that was another way to really hand the bankers
yeah,
power, because one thing that we struggled with after the Civil War was a debt issue.
yeah,
And people don't teach this, but there's a reason why Abraham Lincoln tried to institute the first income tax during his term, and
yeah,
that's because we were struggling to actually pay for the war.
yep.
That was the only way, or the only idea that was generated to help pay for it.
Yeah, there was I was reading something about the way that the War of 1812 actually ended, like the documents that ended it. And it looks like it was a treaty basically, and it was a banking treaty, and it's just breadcrumbs, but it's so deep and so convoluted, it's hard to talk about, like, or to, for me anyways, to kind of nail it down, like the trail of breadcrumbs, as like currently right now, but I'm getting there. I'm starting to see it. But so today we have a bigger problem and that stuff. We can eventually, if we can get ourselves on track, we can turn around and find remedy to some of the unfortunate laws and bills that were passed in America's history. But it seems like we're at a real turning point right now. What do you see going on out there, especially like your peers, and what are your thoughts on this current race?
My thoughts on the current U.S. presidential race is that I think, regardless of the outcome, we're going to see a lot of the same problems
Yeah,
because the Fed is a different entity than the government. The
yeah,
government
absolutely.
itself does not change the inflation. The government itself has a very limited amount of like moves. Like there are some economic maneuvers at the disposal of the president, like getting fracking contracts going and stuff to open up new oil wells and whatnot to try to drill and to get the oil prices down and therefore everything else. But it's limited because the White House, the Congress, they don't set the rates. They don't set the rates for everything. They don't set the discount rates. They don't set the interest rates that banks are charging their customers. They don't set any of that stuff. So,
Yeah,
the rate is set by the Fed. And so that's a whole separate entity that has a board of governors that meets so many times every year. So I think we're going to see a lot of the same stuff. I think that Trump's probably going to pull it off, considering all the problems that are happening right now.
yeah,
I think that Kamala is unpopular. I think that she's a perfect losing candidate because she's not even popular in California. People don't like her here.
yeah,
And I'd say that when people were all pumped about her and all this energy was going and, oh, she's going to win and, oh, she looks really young and vibrant, that was all honeymoon type stuff, which is now
yep,
over. That was temporary little momentum. I think Trump is going to get back in, and I think there are going to be some promises and things that get delivered on, but I think it's going to be limited based on the makeup of the Congress. And then there are going to
yeah,
be all sorts of partisan fights, and then there might be signs of an economic collapse or something, not because of this specific administration, but because of a buildup of several administrations taking all kinds of actions that lead up to this point, but then no
mhm,
one resolving the problem, which then leads to blame being put on Trump, maybe
yep,
congressional Republicans or people that are in there. And so I could see things like that happening. And because all the people, all the real big people that are on the left, they really want to blame Trump. I mean, they hate Trump so much they want to just see him fail.
yeah.
And I think that they'll be pretty happy if he's not able to make progress on certain policy initiatives that he's put forth.
I think you're 100% right on that. A lot of the talk that's going around here is are we even going to make it? Are we going to make it to inauguration? We're watching what's
Yeah.
going on in North Carolina. There, I just saw reports of a FEMA administrator getting beat up by a mob of people for trying to stop a shipment of whatever resources they were bringing into the area, and the people just beat them up. And that's like, I mean, we had the standoff in Texas, about a year ago. Things like this, and we're sending money for foreign wars that seem like they're kicking off real conveniently. You know what I mean? It's a grim outlook for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, and I don't think that we should be relying on the government to solve our problems. I think that I have a major problem with that, regardless of which side it's on. You're not gonna
Absolutely.
Government's never been efficient. Government's never been productive. It never will be. It never
Yeah.
will be. There are things. I mean, there are things that you can do in your local community. Why don't you try, growing some food, or
Yeah.
making your house look like a fortress.
Mm,
Getting weapons for your family, figuring out how to make your vehicle a bug out vehicle.
yeah. So that's where
Not
you're
just
at.
planning ways of escape, but also planning ways to stay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Figuring out ways to get your own food resource, your own water resource, et cetera, et cetera. You're planning in case things go bad. You're not planning for things to go bad. You're planning in case things go bad.
So you're kind of getting that feeling too, where you're at. Well, I'm from California, so Sacramento, but
Where I'm at, I think that I think it's inevitable that things are
yeah,
gonna uh, things are gonna collapse. I don't know how. I mean, and I don't mean like total collapse necessarily, but there's gonna be a transition from one economy to another.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen. That's going to come about through some form of chaos,
Yeah.
through some form of conflict and violence.
Yeah.
And so that's what I see. Really, regardless of who wins, if Kamala gets in, there's going to be something. If Trump gets in, there's going to be something. There's going to be some crisis that has to be dealt with. There's lots
Yeah.
of unemployment. There's lots of AI getting implemented into the workforce. People are losing their jobs. People are experiencing higher levels of poverty. People are uneducated at higher levels than ever. So you have the combination of these factors. People are less fit than they've ever been. You have the combination of these factors, and in the end they lead to disaster. So that's why
Yeah.
I'm saying, that's why I'm telling people, it's up to you, make sure
Yep.
you're planning for these things, to protect your family and to protect your loved ones. And it's not about doom and gloom, it's not about hopelessness. Plan for your future. I'm still enrolled in school, I'm still doing things, because obviously you have to keep yourself occupied in the meantime. You don't really know when anything's going to go down. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm doing right now, is just that. And then just making videos whenever I can about what some of these crazy governments are doing, and they're corrupt even down to the local level. In
Yep.
Sacramento, that's where I live. We had 5 supervisors who decided to implement a universal basic income program, but only for people of color.
Yep. Yep. And this is like, it's like finely crafted racism.
Yeah,
Finally, like they're really fine tuning it in
yeah,
order to get us to hate each other. And that's kind of why I started this. I want to try to find ways to come together. I mean, like I say this all the time, but most people don't even know who their neighbors are. They don't even know their names. They just
yeah.
go in and out of work every day. They don't know their names. There's no sense of community. I know we're a country built on the individual, but the
Hmm.
strength of the
Visualism.
individual,
Yeah, build
and
community. Yeah, get to
yeah,
know your neighbors for sure, the people around you.
yeah,
Try to find ways to help each other out rather than being enemies, because if
yeah,
you're in a community, you're going to have to stick together.
yeah,
So band together. So yeah, whatever resources you can share them.
yeah.
I implore everybody to do that. I think life has gotten too easy,
Yes,
and that's why people don't do that. If life got really hard, like I'm talking about, I think people would be forced to mingle with other people that are part of their community,
yeah,
informal communities, right? Because nobody's really forming a bond with the people around them.
yep,
So that's what I advocate. That's what I'd say you should go ahead and do. I'm not going to ask people to put their hope and trust in the political systems in general.
yeah,
I mean, I've talked about this on Twitter too. I talk about this on my platforms. Like, I'll point out the ridiculousness that's happening. Normally, it's the left more than it's the right, but really, um, sorry, my alarm's going off.
go ahead.
Tons of damage has been caused by both sides, And I say
Yeah,
this as someone that's like a registered Republican. I mean, I went pretty hardcore, when that whole recall was happening down here in California. And
yeah,
I was pretty hardcore against the pandemic guidelines, against the tyranny,
me
against
too.
and for booting out the governor, because all the governors in the United States, right, were given the power to have the handling over the pandemic. There's some national like emergency response act, I think that it is, that actually is in federal code, that delegates power to the states when dealing with national emergencies.
Yeah,
And so Trump put that into force, that law, where, hey, you governors get to decide based on the uniqueness and diversity of your states what you're going to do with it. And in California, I'd say we probably had the worst response. So I went really hardcore then, but I think, give it a couple years and it's probably a little less and less and less hardcore, and um,
yeah,
like less motivation to talk so much about politics, and just more to talk more about more meaningful things in life. And I enjoy the punditry. The commentary is always nice. It's fun to talk about, but I don't find it being anything more than that these days, than the punditry. And I would sit on, if somebody said run for city council, right? If somebody came up to me and said run for city council, run for mayor, I would
yeah,
actually do that. If I was in a nice town and there was an opportunity to do that, I absolutely would. I feel like a community, even if it's medium size, could benefit, from good leadership at the local
yes,
level, from people that are good stewards of money, and from people that aren't going to cave to the woke nonsense. especially because that's more prominent at the local level. You have more cities becoming sanctuary cities, more
Yeah.
cities giving money to illegal aliens. The globalists are the ones funding this illegal immigration that's going on. They're the
Yep.
ones that are telling the leaders that are currently in to allow for the selective enforcement of the laws. In fact, I informed a congressman who is a Republican, who technically, if we're talking about like ideologues here, should be aligned with the party against illegal immigration and should be investigating some of the things that are happening. I told him that, when California was passing their $150,000 per illegal immigrant, loan for homes bill, that Congress should have an investigation into that, because what the legislature was doing was against federal law. Even though Governor Newsom didn't sign it, there are people saying there's a chance they could override the veto, and there are also, there's also me, where I think, they passed it, so they wanted this. Might not have been him, but they wanted this. So there
Yeah.
needs to be some form of investigation, and perhaps even, some arrests going on here, because there's other stuff they've done too that they've passed that are
Oh,
against
I know.
law. And I said, why doesn't Congress do an investigation on this? You've read the codes. The codes say no state or municipality shall provide benefits to people who are not here legally.
Yep.
And that's what many states and cities have enacted. And I think that if our laws and our codes, were like a real thing, like they would be enforced to the maximum they'd be forced to the maximum capacity. But instead of actually being enforced, what they do is they just create lawfare against law-abiding citizens. Like, oh, this is on the codes. They make one misdemeanor to 5 felony charges. I mean, that's the kind of thing these people do
For
to put away.
financial gain. Yeah. Yeah. It's all about bonds too. Money, bonds. If it was an election year, Newsom would have signed that bill.
Yeah, I think he would too. But honestly, I think he and plenty of other Democrats know that Kamala's a dead horse. They're just kind of behind her until election day, when everything will fall apart. And then they'll be like, okay, time to move on with our lives. Because I think in 2028, I mean, I'm not going to say, some antichrist is coming or whatever, but like, in 2028, if nothing happens within the Trump term and I'm totally wrong, then I could easily see, like, if something happens, but it's not so drastic so as to cause all this chaos and unrest and no social order, like I could see a prominent Democrat rising in the ranks and just being like, aren't we tired of this sick old bastard and all this other stuff? Like, aren't you tired of old people running the government? Like, this guy is senile. He can't talk anymore. He's not motivational. He's not effective anymore. And I could see like a young, vibrant Democrat like Gavin Newsom or Josh Shapiro coming in and being like, so articulate, so good with their words, so focused on what they're saying, and taking that election by storm, because even if there isn't unrest, the problems are sufficient enough for people to ask for change.
And then we go the wrong way, the wrong way, or you could find a RFK Kennedy style Democrat too, who's just, a guy, a middle of the road guy. I mean, RFK's got I have some issues with some of the things that he said, but overall, I mean, he would, I don't think he'd have been a bad president,
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think he would have been a terrible president either. And I personally am not. I mean, ideologically, I disagree with him in a lot of spots, and also, so ideologically, philosophically, I also think there's kind of ways that he's like scum, kind of like his relatives and his like ancestors. Like, he's done some pretty bad things, but I'd say, if we're talking as a president, I think he'd be okay. Not that I'd vote for him, but I think he'd be okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just that's what I think is, if we have a president who isn't doing, the best job, you're going to have a prominent Democrat candidate come in, and not that they're going to come in and destroy everything. I think they're going to be forced to be a bit more moderate about things, because people aren't going to accept all the crazy progressive things, but they're just probably not going to be a great president.
I kind of think, from my perspective right now, I'm seeing the progressive left in its death throes, I guess, would be the best way to say it. And so, I mean, and that way I'm hopeful. It's just getting through this time that we're in now, especially, I mean, we got with the Iranians lobbing missiles at the Israelis,
Yeah,
war,
that
how
is.
we go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. That's yeah, I agree with you there.
I don't know how we're gonna get through this period of time, and it seems you mentioned the globalist left, which I'm 1,000% with you, and I see them, and I think everybody sees them, and I think everybody's sick of them, and I think that they will go to no lengths. It's my opinion to prevent Trump from getting into office or to prevent themselves from dying. It's like
Yeah. Or
the Solomon if Jerusalem gets attacked on all sides, they're just going to nuke themselves,
yeah,
and blow everybody up. So it's what it seems like the Dems are doing.
right. Or the Democrats. There are Democrats who might be happy that he wins
Yeah.
because they see that once he wins, it's like a total dead end. He's only got like 4 more years left.
Yeah.
Plus, if he runs into a bunch of problems, he's not going to be able to do anything really much of anything about them. And then he's going to head out of office with all this baggage, And I think that that's something that they would celebrate
Yeah.
if everything that he's advertising is not a success. That is something they will celebrate. In fact, they'll probably celebrate that more than him losing the election. Like they'll celebrate him leaving a legacy that isn't that great. And I'm just analyzing this from a, how do I say this, pragmatic perspective. Like, because I know people think, oh, this guy's going to save America, that guy's going to do this, that guy's going to do that. But normally what ends up happening is, like, I would say that, like, when you have those guys get into office, they're like okay at best. They're like okay at best, I would say. Like they're not saving, people from disaster and all this, but they're okay at best. I would say the first administration, the first run was like we were doing pretty good. I can't lie, we were doing pretty good before the whole COVID thing hit. But once the COVID thing hit, I felt like we kept finding more like excuses to spend and spend and spend money. And let me tell you, I admire Trump in terms of how he speaks and in terms of how he articulates himself. I have a lot of respect for the things that he's done in the past and whatnot. But yeah, just the last year of that administration, like there was so much spending and money being put into the system that was not that should not have come along. The CARES Act, that was like $2 trillion in additional spending that I didn't think that we needed. I think what we needed was to open the economy, and then that led to more money printing. I think we printed like 4 trillion just in that year alone. It's a lot of money. So that would probably explain. We have the Biden administration. There's a lot of inflation going on now, but my take has been that some of it has definitely carried over from the previous administration. Like
absolutely. I mean,
you got to look at the spending policies. Like, you got to look at what they put into place. Sometimes there's implementation lag. Like, sure, they passed this bill or they passed that bill, but it takes a while for people to actually feel the effects of it.
Yeah. So I'll give you sound like you got some dinner coming. I'm gonna throw another curveball at you real quick, and then I'll let you get to eating. So say hypothetically we get a red wave, Trump comes in, Jerome Powell's out in 26, right? I think he got a 6-year term. Jerome Powell.
Powell? Yeah. I think he'd be done in like 26. Yeah.
So who would you think either administration would get rid of him? I think he hasn't done a bad job. I don't think Jerome Powell's done a whole job.
I don't think so, because he was already in. From my knowledge, he was already in during the Trump admin.
Like
he was already operating as the Fed chair during the Trump admin. And the thing is, the administrations don't have a lot of, like I said, they don't have a lot of leverage over that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like it's the shareholders of the Fed that really make those decisions.
I know that the president has. I'm gonna have to look this up. We got to have a round 2, dude, because I really want you to dig into that Banking Act and some of the stuff we talked about initially. But I think, from what I understand, the president has some sort of sway over it. But I don't know.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. They have a sway over public opinion for sure. Like who should be the guy? Yeah. But that's about it. I think like influence is one thing, but influence doesn't always equal results. Like Trump, he had a lot of sway over the public view. He got everybody riled up about Obamacare, right? But like Congress didn't pass the package that he needed to be able to overturn it. So it's like, yeah, you've got that influence there, but that influence has to translate, right, to this decision going the way that they foresee.
What I meant by that is I have to double check, so don't quote me on this, but I think the president can launch them, can get rid of them, the Fed chair, if the Fed isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Let me see the process. I need to look into the process for that.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure that Trump could fire him, I guess, for lack of a better term, and nominate someone else or have someone install someone else, or Kamala can do the same. But I think if you want to destroy the country, which it seems like our politicians are doing right now, the ones that maybe want to destroy the country are going to get rid of them and put somebody else in.
I found a whole 22-page document on it. I better get to reading that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're probably, I'm not saying there isn't. There definitely is a process for firing the chair. I just don't know what that all looks like.
Well, check this out. I really appreciate having you on. I know you got some dinner to have. You said you got 30. We're at 31 minutes. Let's when you get some time, I'll text you after. Text me after dinner. Let's shoot the breeze. Let's get down. We'll do a little bit longer, and then we'll talk about close to election day. And if you're not doing, what are you doing on election day?
Not sure yet. I might be going to a watch party, but we'll see. But yeah, as far as another segment goes, I'd probably have to do that. We'll have to reschedule for another day where I can do a little bit longer.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then just, we can talk about the election day. Maybe we can do one other before the election day.
That'd be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Because election day, chances are I'll be at like a watch party or something. That's normally what I do.
Yep. That'd be rad, man. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on. I will talk to you soon, and we'll schedule another one, and we'll have some more. We'll talk about some more of this crazy stuff. So.
Yeah. God bless you guys. Thank you for having me.
God bless you too. Right on. Talk to you soon.
Right on. Take care.
All right, bye. Outro. Hold on one second. There it is.
Take 3. Hey, what's up, G?
Zach G mixed it.
Hey, it's the art of revolution.
Push the masses away from the media. Every day it's a new distraction from what matters to me. And you'll get the public together to speak in front of the theater with a microphone dangling. Congress tied up and they hearing us like, hey y'all, I'm holding this microphone like a K-Dog. And with this A-Y'all, I kick the revolution way off. Today's the day, dog. They ain't like us, I'm quoting K-Dog. I'm from the days of face-to-face conversations like, hey, wait up. The fake is blatant, we ain't the racist. The claim is baseless, they taking face pics to trade for information, take away your simple basics. The day-to-day Satan worship is taking place. It's your chance to speak your mind and probably your last time. Time is running out, we hustle every day for peace of mind. Cheap and grind, that's what I'm saying when I'm out here getting mine. Get in line, the time to make a difference is not. Push, pull, push out the evil and pull in the truth. I know you got something to say, and now's your time to say it, dude. Like push, pull, push out the evil and pull in the truth. I know you got something to say, and now's your time to say it, dude. Like pull it together, get your notes and take a step up. The road to freedom always begins with a single letter. Are we ever gonna take a chance to get a leg up? The time to use your voice has arisen like it's the 7th. The first step is to let the people know you're fed up. The sword is quite mighty, but the pen will stick the neck better. Don't ever settle and constantly question your surroundings. Shit is always going down around you that you can't see. Thomas Sue and the art of revolution. It's time to spark a conversation and shock the institution. Fuck the system like Kama Sutra propaganda and mass confusion to take away your sight and then leave you blind to honest truth. Give me 2 fingers up, but fuck peace, I'ma see a thumb. Middle one raised up higher than your middle son. Little ones paying the price of silence is within us, giving us no time to react like Chernobyl incidents. Push, pull, push out the evil and pull in the truth. I know you got something to say, and now's your time to say it, dude. Like push, pull, push out the evil and pull in the truth. I know you got something to say, and now's your time to say it, dude. Like
sir.